What is the most infuriating case of double standards you've come across?
I can't believe you waste your time playing video games. Proceeds to binge 8 hours of Netflix.
When I worked for a supermarket in the UK that rhymes with Baitrose, I bleached my hair. I'm a man. They ordered me to cut it all off, then changed my shift to be an outdoor trolley collector. And I had to wear a hat. The person who told me to do this had bleached blonde hair. They were not a man.
My daughter and I have some things that have become tradition. We always go to Starbucks before school on Fridays. We like to go eat sushi for lunch on Tuesdays when she gets out of school early, and we usually go just the two of us. I get all kinds of dirty looks, because people assume that a 45-year-old guy who's out with a beautiful young woman, 16 going on 25, is some sort of lecherous monster. It sucks, but I've been learning to brush it off.
35 years ago, and it still pisses me off. I got detention in high school, no biggie, I did the crime. However, I was scheduled to work, so I asked for detention to be delayed for 1 day. Request denied. I pointed out that football players routinely had theirs rescheduled to accommodate games and practice. Only answer I got was that's different.
One of the regional managers goes to state prison for over a year for DWI. If you know anything about Texas DWI laws, that means he got caught multiple times. Comes out of a prison, immediately transferred to corporate and made a director. Brand new employee is rear-ended in stop/go traffic on the highway. No injuries, but forced to take a drug test. Fails for weed, immediately fired.
Edit, wow, this blew up. I've always wanted to say that haha, thank you all for the support, and thanks for the rewards, kind strangers. Cowboy hat face. When I was about 16, my dad, a Baptist missionary pastor, once preached a 2-hour sermon on the perils of pornography, and how absolutely evil it was, gotta save yourself for marriage, etc. He had also beaten the shit out of me for catching me with porn a couple months prior. That same night when we got home from church, he asked me to bring him his phone that he'd left in the car. I opened it to find months of daily porn watching in his internet history. LMAO.
If there's any issue big or small at daycare or school, they call the mom first.
When I was a school nurse, I was always alone with whatever children needed assistance, even after I would ask for help. New male school nurse started, all of a sudden 3 other people are available just to watch him. I felt terrible for the guy, but literally no one trusted him with the diabetic kid or the kid with the trach alone. Oh, he can't be alone. But me, a woman, was never questioned. Double standards abound.
Most male bathrooms don't have baby changing stations.
Couldn't get my tubes tied without my husband's consent. Meanwhile, he had a vasectomy without even my knowledge.
My high school English teacher would hear something even remotely phone-like and explode. Whose phone is that? If no one answered right away, Ahe would pace the desks, and if anyone acted suspicious, she would have them empty their pockets, bags, etc. on the desk. If there was a phone, she confiscated it. If there were any unread notifications, she would read them aloud. But, every now and again, she would do her whole explosion, then glance down and giggle and say, "Oh, it's my phone," and then text away. Also, she was a terrible English teacher.
For purposes of this story, I have 2 little brothers. They do not share mothers. We were eating breakfast with the mother of one of them. The other one is a picky eater. He has issues with texture, but he never complains, just powers through as best he can. She got up to get coffee, and they traded plates. Her bio son had almost cleaned his, and her stepson had eaten about half, before the trade. Then they both got up and took their plates to her like they'd finished, and she accepted them both as done. You see, when her bio son says he's full, she believes him. When her stepson says he's full, she doesn't. So they made it look like the step had eaten more because they knew the bio's plate would be accepted in any condition. I never told them that I know they did this, and probably have for a while, but I love that they figured a way around her double standards.
It's considered kind and noble to put down a pet that is old and suffering, even if you can't really tell how they are feeling or coping, but if someone is suffering majorly and in pain and at the end of their life and is fully communicating, they still can't give you permission to go forward with euthanasia.
A girl I dated in high school would often vent to me about her friends' boyfriends doing the same things she would do to me. For example, we'd see each other every weekend. She wanted to see me more often, but we lived 40 minutes from each other, gas was expensive, I was broke, and I had homework and extracurriculars, so I was busy during the week. She got mad and angrily told me to let her know when I cared enough to pencil her into my calendar. Not too much later, she was on the phone with me, telling me how her friend's boyfriend said the same thing to her friend and what an asshole he was for it. When I called her out, she just made up some crap about how our situation was different.
Me and a classmate wrote the same answer with different wordings in a test. My classmate got the answer marked wrong. Luckily, because I am her favorite, I don't enjoy it, I was able to negotiate with her and she changed the mark. Although it's still infuriating that it actually happened in the first place, and yes, she didn't like him at the time.
We had a really expensive camping trip in middle school. Get to this place and the girls' rooms are in camp, thick clay walls, fridges, plugs. Totally fucking decked out. The boys' cabins? A 15-minute walk away from the main place, and right next to a dam, the walls were cardboard and the place had more holes than a block of Swiss cheese. I still feel robbed.
Senior year in high school. The football team got brand new uniforms, gear, and buses for tournaments, paid for by the school. They had the only bus with AC and window tinting, and nice Alcoa rims, reserved for their use only. They even cancelled a couple elective classes my senior year to free up money for the team. The girls' softball team had to do year-long fundraisers to pay for everything, down to the softballs, uniforms, and chartering buses for tournaments. So that year, the football team won one game, in preseason, lost every other game. The girls' softball team went to and won their division at the state level. Oh, and the Starboys baseball player got busted with marijuana on campus for the third or fourth time, was told to sit out 2 games, he could pick which ones, not even detention. Meanwhile, shortly later another kid, a loner, got busted with marijuana once, and got expelled, had to take summer school to advance to the next grade. Priorities.
When I passed my driving test, I had about 3 years no claims bonus with motorbikes that no insurer would let me use for a car. I guess it makes some amount of sense, because they're different vehicles of different sizes with different risks. What makes absolutely no sense is how having my motorbike stolen should negatively impact my premiums for car insurance when the difference in stealing a bike versus a car is vastly different, and I was living at a completely different address in another city. Yet I'm still forced to pay increased premiums for 5 years. If having a bike stolen is relevant to increasing car insurance premiums, how is riding one safely for 3 years not relevant to reducing them? Insurance is a fucking racket.
When we bought our house, my wife set up all the utilities. I'm on the spectrum, I really hate dealing with that stuff, bills, money. I go to work and earn the money, she does the budgeting and makes sure everything gets paid. It's crazy to me how often a company will have to have me get on the phone to make a change or whatever on an account that SHE set up. I'm the husband, so I must be in charge of the finances?
Does anyone have a link to the story of a guy whose child almost got kidnapped? IRC. It was a story where a man was waiting for his wife outside a store with their child in a stroller. A woman just walks up, screams that he's kidnapping her child, grabs the stroller, and calmly walks off. The man got tackled and beat by everyone there, to the point of having broken ribs, and all the while he was screaming that the baby was his, and she was the kidnapper. It was only stopped because the wife came out and confronted the woman, who just calmly let go of the stroller and walked off without anyone stopping her. When the police got there, the husband was reprimanded for looking suspicious.
The youth minister at the church I attended told my girlfriend's parents that I did drugs and that she should break up with me. Which she did. It really made buying drugs from that guy awkward.
When my dad lit up cigarette number 2 of 3 during a 20-minute talk about the dangers of smoking, and how he'd kick my butt if I ever started. Meanwhile, I had asthma and chronic bronchitis from all the second-hand smoke in the house.
Got written up for wearing nice shorts to work. In an IT position. No customer-facing roles at all. My female manager and all other women in the company were permitted to wear any type of dress or skirt. My manager always wore her athletic skirt she worked out in. It was less than knee length. Fuck you, Black Hills energy.
I went to a small Bible college where we had to sign a contract promising not to drink or have premarital sex while enrolled there. At one point a couple was caught having sex, the guy was put on some sort of light probation, of course he was still able to play on the school's basketball team, and the girl was immediately expelled.
When I was a sophomore, a group of freshman girls all decided to go around racking guys because they thought the reactions were hysterical. I made it very clear if any of them did that to me, I would slap the shit out of them. Lo and behold, after several other guys were hit and nothing done, one of them surprised me in the hallway and racked me. I promptly slapped her across the face and was sent to the principal's office by a female teacher who witnessed the whole thing. Thankfully, the principal was more understanding and just sent me back to class. Still, whole thing pisses me off over a decade later. ETA, when I say racking, I mean slapping, or otherwise hitting someone in the testicles for no other purpose than to cause pain. Probably known under many different phrases or names, but that is what we know it as where I grew up in Texas, also sack tap, but racking was the phrase that first came to mind.
My mom gets mad at me for being at home all the time and never going over to friends' houses and stuff. I get a girlfriend and a job, so now I'm never home, and she gets pissed off about it.
Someone posted on Reddit once, and it really made me laugh, so it stuck with me, that a woman he worked with would make fun of him and call him chicken legs and stuff, wearing shorts, so he finally called her elephant legs and got into trouble with HR.
Middle-aged woman I used to work with was always complaining about her son-in-law, and one day she was complaining to me and saying how he doesn't clean her daughter's car off when it snows, and that is something the man should be doing, and I responded with sure, but how would you feel if he said the same thing about dishes and being something the woman should do? She paused and then said she never thought of it that way, lol.
School always calls me the mom. Teachers always call me the mom. When I changed the primary number to my husband's number, they were confused that he picked up and asked him to verify my number for future reference. They never bother or ask or complain to my husband, only me, the mom.
That tenants can be paying $2,000 a month in rent, but still can't get approved for a mortgage with $1,400 a month repayments.